How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. We have some big announcements, some big news coming over from the Bitcoin conference. I want to explain what's happening because there's going to be a lot of news and it's going to be hard to keep up with. So it's good to document everything that's happening. This is going to be a bit of a shorter one. If you like that, let me know by hitting the subscribe button. Also, if you want to check out the link underneath the video to Margex, you can long or short the market. If you think it's going down further, you can put your money where your mouth is and you can bet against the market. Or if you think we're going to rebound, you can also long the market. They're doing an airdrop for about just a few more days where you can get in on some free tokens. There's also a link to CoinW as well underneath the video. And I mentioned HGAalgo a couple times yesterday. It's nailed the bottom on a lot of different charts. If you want that, there's a link to that underneath the video as well. Let's start here though. Crypto liquidations. Over the last day, about $278 million of longs liquidated and only $25 million worth of shorts liquidated. So Bitcoin fell, Ethereum fell. There's a little bit of manipulation in my mind, but also probably just some people taking profits and that kind of stuff. But we're starting to get some big news from the conference. As you can see here, it's time for everyone to go full hodl at Saylor. Today, Mara is announcing that they purchased $100 million worth of Bitcoin, and effective immediately, we're going to start adopting a full hodl strategy. Okay. Mara is Marathon Digital. They're one of the biggest miners out there, one of the biggest public miners, Bitcoin miners, which is interesting that they're going out and buying Bitcoin. Like, it's an interesting scenario because obviously they feel like there's something that they need or some reason why they have to buy like right now, because they could have just held some previous Bitcoin that they had sold. Instead, they're buying $100 million worth, which is, if I'm doing my math right, maybe 1,500 Bitcoin or so. Keep in mind that they're going to create it as a strategic asset, buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin. And they say full hodl mode. They're keeping this as their treasury asset. Like, they are not selling. They basically just said, we are not going to sell Bitcoin any longer. So that is really good news. I mean, miners are typically one of the biggest sellers of Bitcoin on the market. And they said, we're not going to sell anymore for now. Like, we're just going to hold. So one of the big sellers is now essentially gone. We also got news from Fold. Fold, if you don't know about them, they're a Bitcoin app, personal finance powered by Bitcoin. They're going to list on the NASDAQ as the first publicly traded financial services company powered by Bitcoin. That's kind of fascinating. Okay, a new option for people that want to play Bitcoin but want a picks and shovels play in Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, as opposed to Coinbase. We will enter the market with 1,000 Bitcoin in our treasury. Okay. Very interesting stuff. I mean, that's $65 million worth of Bitcoin. There are more and more companies doing this. There are more and more companies that are now buying Bitcoin, that are making it the pillar, the bedrock of their balance sheet. So I think this is really good news for Bitcoin. I think as this continues to happen, there are more and more companies that are actually profitable that can continuously throw cash at Bitcoin. I think that's just good. I think it's good for Bitcoin holders. I think it's good for the whole Bitcoin economy. But keep in mind, in the short term, there are big buyers and sellers. The ETH ETFs bought 190 million, the 7 new ETH ETFs. Grayscale ETF dumped 327 million. So yeah, the fact is, this party, this awesome news doesn't always show up right away, because one entity can say, hey, we're just going to dump a lot, or we have to dump a lot. So you have to take all this information and realize that it might not affect the price right away, but it does affect the price over the long term. Okay. I know sometimes it's just like, come on, let's just freaking move up. Why do we have to keep on moving sideways? Why do we have to have these fake outs? Why do we have to have these liquidation events? What the heck? Come on. But sometimes that's just what happens, right? Sometimes you just have to wait longer. That is why usually Bitcoin does so well eventually. That's why people get really good returns, is because some people get bored or get faked out of the market, and then it falls lower, and then you can get in at a better price. Now, we also have news that the US Bitcoin ETFs actually had an inflow day. So like I just went over the ETH ETFs. The Bitcoin ETFs actually had a $45 million inflow. So honestly, decent day. I mean, the day before they had a $78 million outflow. And then the 12 days before that, they had like 2.6 billion in inflows. Now, for anyone at the Bitcoin conference or trying to figure out what's happening today, just to be clear, this is industry day. It's for businesses and investors to network and get some business, about 5,000 attendees. So not a huge turnout for this day. I mean, that's actually pretty good for what it is, the type of day that it is there. Tomorrow is when the main event begins, which is 20,000 attendees. So honestly, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. That's close to what it was in 2021. I believe it was around 25,000. So yeah, not bad at all. We also got some GDP numbers. Okay, we have better growth than expected. We're gonna have to see how that makes the market react, because honestly, the market sometimes likes that, sometimes doesn't. If it's too hot, then they think there's less of a chance that we're going to have rate cuts. So overall, it's just kind of an interesting time. We're going to have to continue watching what's going on, because, I mean, Grayscale keeps on just dumping Ethereum, and who knows how long that lasts. But the Bitcoin ETFs are buying up. We have good news on strategic reserves, on treasuries, on miners that already mine Bitcoin, just buying a lot more. Of course, if you're looking at that miner to buy, they may be diluting you heavily to be able to get that cash, or taking loans or something. So make sure you dive into that more than what we talked about in just this video. I have to say, I am at Bitcoin Nashville. So far, very good vibes. Very good vibes from everyone that I've talked about, which you might be saying, well, what does that matter? Well, I mean, usually I feel like as humans, we have a good feeling for things, and if people are in a good mood, that means that they're generally hopeful, or genuinely hopeful, and feel good about the position they're in too. So I think that is important. Like, are companies throwing around money? That's a good question too. Like, is there liquidity in the system, or are people being dumb? You can take it a couple different ways, but I'll report some of that information, kind of like a behind the scenes, what I'm really seeing kind of video, probably later this week. Thank you so much. If you want to check out the links to Margex and to CoinW underneath the video, check them out. I'll see you in the next one.